3 deep breaths as we watch these beautiful photos and listen to the meditation of my heart. From Psalm 49:3, the meditation of my heart shall be understanding. In this sweet time of prayer, I relax and still my thoughts. I become aware of my breath, knowing it is the breath of life moving in and through me. I release any thought of distraction or concern. Letting the sounds around me fall away, I become fully present in this moment. I enter my quiet space, the center of my being, and listen for the still, small voice of spirit, for the inaudible yet sure whisper in my heart. I am listening. I hear the peaceful assurance, you are loved, and feel the presence of pure love. In this peaceful moment, I give thanks that I am a creation of the divine, an expression of infinite love. I give thanks for the promise that I am never alone. God is always with me as a guiding, protecting presence. God is perfect life that flows throughout my body temple. I am strong and well. God is infinite wisdom, my source of confidence and courage to do that which is mine to do. God is unlimited supply and loving provision. I have everything my heart desires. I am listening. Attuned to the presence of love, I set my intention for the day. My thoughts, words, and actions will be expressions of love and wisdom to brighten someone's day. My hands will be the hands of love that serve with gratitude. My voice will convey the spirit of love and compassion with words to lift the heart of one whose spirits are low. I will treat this day with good humor and a light touch, inviting goodwill and harmony into every moment. With a prayer of thanks on my lips, I go forward into this day with joy in my heart. Just imagine that there are sounds of birds in this song. And so what So keep taking your deep healing breaths. And let yourself imagine that you're in your quiet and still place, which may be a place like this, near the swamp, the beautiful sounds of the birds, the breeze, and yes, the occasional mosquito, but that's okay. We need the beautiful swamplands. We need the beautiful, beautiful cypress trees. We need the beautiful, beautiful lotus that grows in the mud, rises up, gives her beautiful fragrance and self to the world. Imagine in your still and quiet place, maybe near the ocean, or in the mountains, or in your garden, or in your own living room, in your favorite chair, with your book of poems or spiritual writings. Any place that we are, in a hospital room, in a beautiful chapel, or in the silence of our own hearts, sitting in our cars at a stoplight. In every moment, we can take a deep healing breath and recenter. Come back to ourselves. Come back to our heart of hearts, where we can access the deepest wisdom, the highest joy, the greatest understanding, the immensity of peace, the peace that goes beyond all human turmoil and chaos, the peace that passes all ordinary understanding. We recenter in the silence. So as we take a few moments of silence, we allow our hearts and minds to open. We open our hearts to blessings seen and unseen. And we hold our beloveds in a consciousness of prayer and peace wherever they are, living in physical and also living in non-physical. We bless all of humankind, all life around this globe, and in all the great multi-universes that we're a part of. And now's the time that we speak out loud, if we wish, the names of those that we're holding in prayer. You, Mary, CJ, all those who've written into the prayer team. We continue to hold in prayer all world leaders, and that all of us, our whole human family, that we have as our highest priority, the well-being of all life. Give thanks for the power of prayer, for the power of the deep healing breath, the power of the pause. Just to pause and feel the stillness and the ever-present peace that resides in us wherever we go. And we say, so it is, and so we let it be. Namaste. So, you get the idea. If you haven't been to Springbank, it's a wonderful Catholic retreat center that's run by the Dominican sisters.
And we went there for our board retreat, partly because it helps us deepen into our wisdom and our peace. We could have easily done a meeting here, and that would have been wonderful. There's something about taking ourselves away. And of course, that's what we do every time we go into prayer and meditation. We take ourselves away from the noise, the chatter, the disruption, the chaos, the confusion. We recenter, right? So it's appropriate that we're doing this talk today, and there must have been a divine and holy scheduler and planner to work it out this way. Taking ourselves to Springbank to do a board retreat, to open to where are we going as a church community. And we're in a place dedicated to eco-spirituality, taking care of our planet, along with opening up to Spirit and how Spirit wants to move through us. And they have 80 acres, and throughout the trails through the woods, they have put some beautiful stones, beautiful trees. Guys, there's a vibrating presence, and it's not Holy Spirit. What is it? It's outside? Oh, it's a drill? It's the vibrating presence of Holy Spirit. So there's these beautiful oak trees, and also through the trails, they've put stones along the way to remind us of how long life has been unfolding just on this one planet. Just in this one galaxy, just in this one universe, how long life has been unfolding and moving and circling around and spiraling around 600 million years ago. Nervous systems and sight evolves. Earth sees herself for the first time. Don't you love that? And then along the path, there's other stones. We'll get to those in a moment. But the point is, this church has been here 28 years. Not in this location, but it was founded 28 years ago. So here we are in our little university community, opening to what we're unfolding towards and what's coming next in us and around us. And at the same time, we're doing it in a context of being a part of a life system that's been unfolding for billions of years. So let's just take a deep breath and let ourselves feel it. We're not even a blink of time compared to what has gone before us. It is good to check in with this huge immensity while we're taking care of the steps here in this place of what we're a part of. So another stone on the path, 150 million years ago, birds took flight, and Earth breaks into song. The sisters created these, well, they didn't create the stones, they had the stones there, but they put the messages on the stones. So all along the path from these 80 acres, you're putting into context your place in this one universe. 120 million years ago, flowers cover Earth with seeds, food, color, and scent. Does that make you tingle? It made me tingle when I read it. 115 million years ago, first placental mammals evolved. Earth enters maternal nurturing. Don't you love that? I wasn't raised Catholic, but I really appreciate so much about the Catholic faith. And I know some of you who were raised Catholic, at that point you go, I just appreciate so much, and I'm sure I was a Catholic at least 115 dozen times in past lives, but the idea of maternal nurturing. And this place, even though there's a statue of Joseph holding Jesus, mainly to get Mary energy there. She's very venerated there. And a lot of us here love Mother Mary. And the idea of maternal nurturing. And I feel like that's what you and I are doing right now. We're opening to this place in our heart that is about holding lovingly all that our world is moving through. Because there's going to be moments where you just want to slap somebody. So to continue holding our world, ourselves, one another in a place of maternal presence and nurturing. That even moving through these days, all is well. All is well. Keep breathing. Keep opening. So in this book that we've been looking at, The Living Universe. And by the way, this place where we did our board retreat, originally it was 5,000 acres, a land grant from the mid-1700s. It's been owned by different families through the years, and at one time was a slave plantation where they made 1,000 bricks a day. And I've been to Springbank before. We did the lawn dance there 2 years ago. And one night when we were moving around the tree, about 4 a.m., doing our lawn dance, we heard singing from the swamps. And we told the sisters the next thing, there's somebody back there. They're singing. She said, no, actually, there's no one back there, but often we hear the singing. It's that kind of place, that kind of wonderful place. And so there's a slave cemetery there at Carlotta, or someone, maybe it was Sister Teresa, someone reminded us. She said sometimes people come to Springbank and they say, oh, it's too bad about the history that you have here, being a slave plantation. And Sister Teresa says that she will at that point say, yes, that's a history that we want to acknowledge. And now we want to acknowledge that we can call on those ancestors to help us know, what do we do now? What do we become now? To transform that hurtful energy in the human family. How do we move forward now? So it's a place dedicated to healing. So in this book that we've been looking at, The Living Universe, this is what this writer says about. It's been a funny morning too with technology, I have to tell you. And Hobby's not here today. He's doing a yoga seminar, but he was at our house this morning at 6:30 helping us with the PowerPoint. That's dedication. Okay, so here's what this writer says about our journey that you and I are on. Humans, physically like ourselves, have existed for at least 150,000 years. For those of you doing genealogy. However, our lineage almost died out about 70,000 years ago, when a period of abrupt climate change produced extreme hardship for our species. So it's happened before. A massive volcanic eruption in Indonesia appears to have been the precipitating event. Sometimes called the Toba catastrophe, this mega colossal eruption, the largest in the past 2 million years, produced 3,000 times more ash and smoke than the 1980 eruption of the Mount St. Helens volcano. To indicate the magnitude of the Toba eruption, thousands of miles away, much of India was covered with nearly 6 inches of volcanic ash. The resulting haze blocked the sun, cooled the atmosphere, and triggered a severe ice age that lasted 1,000 years or more and may have produced the bottleneck in human evolution. Geneticists now estimate that between 1,000 and 10,000 humans in southern Africa survived this catastrophe. A few thousand humans who survived, perhaps from a single village or locale, provided the gene pool from which the entirety of modern humanity derives. This was our Garden of Eden. These ancestors went their separate ways out of Africa to populate the planet. Now, 70,000 years later, their descendants are encouraging one another and encountering one another, this time as a family approaching 7 billion people. What a remarkable story of survival and success. So you and I know how to survive. You and I know how to do that. It's in our genes. Keep going, keep moving, survive. And sometimes people ask me, survive for what? What's it all been about? Somebody at the board retreat, maybe Mary, said, what's it all about, Alfie? Remember that? And I think it was Carlotta who reminded us. She said, let's keep asking the ancestors. What is their wisdom? They survived. People living on a plantation as a slave, they kept surviving. They kept moving forward. This wonderful African-American woman who worked in a home of one of our neighbors growing up. You know, we were forbidden to go into her neighborhood back then. So we went, of course. And she would serve us biscuits and honey, and she would tell us about Jesus, and then send us home before our parents got home from work. It was our little secret. But she used to say to us, there's a day coming when people will accept one another. There's a day coming. So we keep moving forward. And sometimes people lose hope. I know, we all do. How can it still be happening? How can we know all these great ideas and great inspired thinkers and writers giving us these wonderful insights? And how can we still keep having the human chaos and confusion and war? How can we keep doing it? Well, I have the answer. We're not all awake yet. A friend of mine reminded me recently, and some of us are newbies. We haven't been in this earth life enough yet to figure it out. So there are different levels of understanding, but it's all okay. Just keep breathing, keep moving forward. More than survival, keep moving forward into survival. There's a day, not just a day coming, the day is here. And some of us see it. We're waking up. So this writer goes on to say that there seems to be, right now, because of worldwide communication, an opening to one another's suffering more than any other time in history. If you're on Facebook, if you've got the internet, if you're reading the books, if you're listening to NPR, if you're watching CNN or Fox, you're tuning into the suffering of the world. And so in unity, we learn what to do with that suffering. We take a deep breath. We hold in our consciousness of prayer that wholeness is alive within us. Wholeness. That we are the light of the world, and that's what we want to express. So we do have a choice. We can get pulled into this feeling of things falling apart, or we can get pulled into the feeling of things are being shaken apart so that what Susan talked about, the seed can burst open and the expression of our light can happen even more powerfully. Amen. So this is a review. 90%, this is from last week. So if you were here last week, take a little nap. We're going to do a quick review. 96% of the known universe is invisible. What? It's not detectable by our material technologies. We know what's happening because we have black energy, black holes, but we know something's happening, but we just can't see it with these eyes. We now know, the spiritual writers have always known this, but the scientists are now saying we are multidimensional beings within multidimensional universes. If that's not enough for you to think about, then we'll see what else comes up on the screen. Our founder, Charles Fillmore, great book, by the way, if you haven't read it. He says the next great achievement of science will be the understanding of the mental and spiritual abilities latent in all of us. In other words, we're not just our five senses, we're multi-dimensional beings. We have multi-dimensional sensing, receiving and transmitting. We're more than we think we are. Here is involved the secret that the Apostle Paul talked about, hid from ages and generations, which is Christ in us, the hope of glory. Apostle Paul talked about this energy, this awareness, hidden from the generations, but that would be revealed, like our song earlier, raising the veil, the revelation, the insights that come, that we get it, that we are the light of the world, and this writer, Paul, called it the Christ, the hope of glory within each one of us. So what does this have to do with the living universe and the unfolding of billions and billions of years? Because we're still evolving. And when we talk ourselves into thinking that we've got it all figured out and there's nothing else we need to do, we're kidding ourselves. There's so much more to open up to of what's hidden within. Christ within, the hope of glory. Other religions, spiritual paths, had other names for it. The one presence, hid within us, that we open up to. It's the hope of the world. Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, if they say to you, where have you come from? At your next party that you go to, so where did you move here from? Jesus said, tell them we came from the light, the place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest. You are the light of the world. Someone says, where did you come from, by the way? I came from the light. You came from the light. Thank you for listening. Thank you for playing. And this writer says, once the journey to God is finished, the infinite journey in God begins. And there's a wonderful distinction there. We talked about it last week. Something for us to think about. As long as we're using words like, well, here's what I believe. Here's what my church teaches me. And here's what I read in that book. And I kind of believe that. We're in our journey to God. And that's okay. It's wonderful to be in that journey. And then something shifts. And we become what they call doubly knowing humans. We know, and we know we know. And that's the journey in God. There is a shift. It's a distinct feeling, that shift. So rather than using words like, well, I believe that we're all one. Well, that's a lovely belief, and that's wonderful. Beliefs are like clothes, though. We put them on. They feel too big or they feel too small. We give them to Goodwill. We go buy some more clothes. We wear those a while. Beliefs are what? Changeable. The knowing taps us into the ever-present eternal awareness, unchangeable. So there's a difference. We went over this last week, 12 symptoms of spiritual awakening, and 3 of you emailed me during the week. Would you put that up there again, please? And I'll email it too if you want it. You just have to let me know. 12 symptoms of spiritual awakening. I want to go over them again. Because every great teaching deserves to be repeated. Over and over. So, let's take another assessment. We were certainly doing assessments at the board training. By the way, here's something fun. I found out, this will be a shock to some of you and not so shocking to others. I am a total introvert.
Doesn't shock me, I am too.
And 6 of our team, including our great church administrator, and this will be a shock to you, she's an extrovert. We have 6 flaming extroverts on the board. Isn't that great? When we are waking up, these are symptoms of that. We have an increased tendency to let things happen rather than make them happen. We have frequent attacks of smiling. Just look at Susan Bolt. We have feelings of being connected with others and nature. We have frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation, gratitude. We have a tendency to think and act spontaneously rather than from fears based on past experience. Oh, if this doesn't tell you where your work is, I mean, if you want to know where my work is. Okay. And we have an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. We have a loss of ability to worry. How many of you want that? A loss of an ability to worry. A loss of interest in conflict. A loss of interest in interpreting the actions of others. Let's bow our heads and pray. How many of us make up stories based on assumptions that then we find out are not true? But we had such a great story going for a while, and we even invited other people into it. A loss of interest in judging others. A loss of interest in judging self. And gaining the ability to love without expecting anything. So those are just 12 symptoms. There are others. Here's what's happening when we have those 12 symptoms. You know, and it doesn't mean that we have all 12 symptoms going on at the same time and that we're not doing any of our work. We talked about this a lot at our board retreat. We talk about it here a lot at Unity. We have to do our personal work. We have to do our personal work. So if I'm operating on an assumption and making up a story about you, Janice,
I hope it's good.
I'll make it good. But if I make up a story that causes separation between the two of us, I can't believe she did that. I can't believe she said that. I can't believe she acted that way. Doesn't she remember that I'm lovable? You know, and then I make up this whole story, and then somebody comes to me and says, I want to apologize to you for doing that thing and saying that thing. I go, oops, I thought it was Janice that left that note. And all this time I made up a story. Have you ever done anything like that? No. Okay. So self-organizing systems is what we are, and it's a part of evolution. Some of you who have been, you do a lot of reading, you watch the documentaries, you know that all the life forms that have evolved through millions and millions and millions of years, they went through shifts and changes. And each shift and change was based on the shift and change that went before it. Right? So we're the same. So there's shifts and changes going on in us, but there's a few things that identify evolving systems. Would you like to know what they are? Okay, and the scientists call it self-organizing systems. So, when we are doubly knowing humans, we know that we know. And when we see that we are evolving systems, our universe is evolving, we're evolving. So one of the things that happens with self-organizing systems, we have the ability of centering. We have the ability to take a check on our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs. We have the awareness to re-center, to check ourselves. Ever heard that phrase? Mm-hmm. Check yourself. We center so that we remain open to the flow through of life energy. Do you know the feeling of when you close down? Mm-hmm. I do. I know the feeling of when I close down. You also know the feeling of when you're open. Right? Mm-hmm. Also, as self-organizing systems, we are conscious and we know we're conscious. Life isn't just happening to us, life is happening through us. We have the capacity for perception and see ourselves, and we reflect upon our lives. We reflect upon what we know. We have the ability to reflect. A self-organizing, evolving system has that ability. We also have freedom, the freedom to interact with one another and affect one another. We're in a collective. We're doing this together. Did you think you were evolving on your own? As Susan said, she's not going to jump off of the planet. She's not going to jump out of the universe. We're doing this together. Also, self-organizing systems, we have a paradoxical nature. We know that we are continuously opening to the flow through of energy. We know that we're continually opening to know that we're unique, each one of us, and we're also part of a unified collective. We stop thinking in terms of separation. When we are self-organizing systems, we see the power of community. We see that there are new levels of learning and life experience and evolution that is supported by community and co-creating. And we see the possibilities of emergence. We know that there's an extraordinary jump in aliveness at each level that could not have been anticipated by the properties of the previous level. So, a lot of us look around at what's happening on the earth and we say, are you sure we're evolving? Are you sure consciousness is evolving? Are you sure that we're awakening? I am sure. I know. Just because we still see chaos doesn't mean that we're not awakening and evolving. But we have the ability to see emergence coming out of the seed breaking apart. We have that ability. The emerging narrative tears back the veil of smallness and reveals humanity as creatures of cosmic dimension and participation. Can you see yourself as a part of a cosmic dimension? Let's just pause and breathe into that. When people we love die, not so easy to feel. When we lose jobs, not so easy to feel. When we feel threatened by a political party or a disease or an old wound, it's not easy to feel our cosmic dimension and participation. When life brings us something unexpected that we just didn't have planned into our budgets and into our life feeling okay, it's not easy to remember we're part of a cosmic unfolding and we're participating in the unfolding of wholeness, or we're participating in the unfolding of fear. That's what Niels Bohr says. So we are doing one of two things at all times. We're either participating in the unfolding of wholeness, or we're participating in the unfolding of fear. And don't you know, I do at each moment. And I know when my choice points are, especially when David and I have heated conversations. Don't do it so much anymore, but I know what my choice points are. I know if I take one more step in that direction, I'm going to be participating in the unfolding of fear. And sometimes when we're at that choice point, we just choose to step over that line anyway. We're just going to go there because it feels real familiar. Or we're participating in the unfolding of wholeness. And we know when we make that decision, we take a deep breath. It's like David and I had a tiny little spat a while back, and he left the house, and I stayed there, and I was feeling righteous. Thank you. Thank you, my extrovert, for telling me. And I was expecting him to be gone all day long. And I was already seeing, oh man, this wonderful, beautiful day is going to be unfolding with me feeling like this. And then I made a decision, standing in my kitchen at that little counter. I'm just not going to go there. I want to enjoy this day. I'm not going to go to that other place. And I tell you, within 2 minutes, David drives back up, comes in the house, and he looks at me and says, I just don't want to go there. I said, I know. So I'm not there anymore. I said, I know, I'm not either. He hugged. And then he left to go do his errands, and I said, so that's how easy it can be. And sometimes we're going to dance with the old stuff and participate in the unfolding of fear again, and participate in the unfolding of confusion again. But more and more, aren't you finding that we're participating in the unfolding of wholeness
Absolutely.
and awakening and peace and forgiveness and love and kindness? That's because we're participating in this unfolding divine and cosmic journey that we're on. So, I'm going to end with telling you where we're going. Is that a good idea?
Yes.
And I apologize to you for being a little befuddled this morning. We've had quite a morning. And a lot of us didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So here we are. We're on a grand adventure. Our souls are awakening. It's a path of great compassion and great discovery. The universe is moving and we're moving with it. The natural companion of awakening is the compassionate understanding that we are intimately connected with all of existence, and from this insight, a natural inclination grows to serve the awakening of all beings. There's a natural inclination within each one of us that you and I are here to serve and support the awakening of all beings.
Amen.
And you may not use those words. Our facilitator who did a process with us yesterday, she got it. She said, I said, have you ever seen a configuration like this? But she said, this is the most unusual group. What a shock. I said, this is the most unusual group. I've never seen this before. So 60% of your board has the same preferences in the way they see the world and communicate and go into their creative energy. So it's perfect to have 6 extroverts because you're such and you're off the chart introvert. It's perfect. She said it's almost like you were all called together. And then she said it's almost like it's divine. Community. She got it. And the most wonderful thing is we are getting more and more. We are called together. Where is the universe going? Unfolding, evolving. But the wonderful news is, you and I know that we know. We know that we're participating in it. We're participating in the unfolding of wholeness. Where is the universe going? To wholeness. And to this species expressing wholeness in ways we've never expressed it before. And I'm going to stop now because I've gone over again. I love you. I bless you. Namaste.